Lesson 5-5, compare and order rational numbers. Now again, rational numbers are those numbers that can be written as a fraction or a decimal that repeats or comes to an end, so it's terminating. In this lesson, though, we're going to be looking at the density property. And the density property of rational numbers just says an infinite number of rational numbers can be found between any two rational numbers. So how are we going to do that? Well, if it's fractions, we want to get common denominators. And so you're going to have to multiply by an equivalent fraction equal to 1, just so that you can find out, determine if the integers in the numerator can have numbers in between. If not, then just multiply the fractions by 2/2, 3/3, or 4/4, and so on. We're also going to use cross products or common denominators to compare and order fractions. So first off, let's look at our first example. It says in a gymnastics competition, Gina scored 7 1/4 points and May scored 7 3/10 points. Who scored fewer points? So we need to get common denominators first. And the common denominator of 4 and 10 would give us 20. So to get 20 here, I just multiply this by 2/2. So we got May, who's got 7 6/20. And we got Gina. If I multiply this by 5/5, Gina would give you 7 5/20. Now 6/20 is bigger than 5/20, so the one who scored fewer would be Gina. Next, we want to name a fraction between these two. So between -5 3/4 and -5 5/8. So first we want to have common denominators. Common denominator of 4 and 8 is 2. So if I multiply this by 2/2, I now have -5 6/8, and this one is still -5 5/8. Now there's not a number between 6 and 5, so I would want to rewrite the fraction again. So if I multiply this by 2/2, this will give us -5 12/16, and the other one would be -5 5/8. Or I gotta multiply this by, actually I had the wrong denominator. This would be so this would be 6/8. So you just get rid of this denominator and this denominator and put 8 back in there. Actually, let me go back. I was thinking of something else. So this one was 6/8. So now if I multiply it by 2/2, so that's 16. Multiply this by 2/2, and that gives me 16. So 10/16. So between 10 and 12, I can find a number. So this would be -5 11/16 would be in between those two fractions. Next, here we want to compare the fractions using cross products. So when you're using cross products, go down first and then go up second. So up diagonal. So if I go 5 times 7 is 35. Going up the other direction is 36. Well, 36 is bigger, so it would be 7/12 is less than 3/5. Now, if I wanted to do common denominators, the common denominator of 12 and 5 would be 60. So if I multiply this by 5/5, I would get 35/60. And over here, if I multiply by 12/12, that would give us 36/60. And 36 is bigger than 35. Next, I have fifths, so I'm comparing with fifths, but 33 fifths would be the same as saying 6 and 3 fifths. So 6 and 3 fifths is bigger than 4 and 1 fifth. So I would put this less than symbol in here. Here we got 8 and 3/20ths and 8 and 2/15ths. So if I cross multiply, we would have 45 on the left. 20 times 2 is 40 on the right. So 45 is bigger. So 8 and 3/20ths would be bigger than 2 2/15ths. Now I could get common denominators for this one, but the simpler part would just be, actually if I did common denominators, it'd be 60. 3/20ths times 3/3 would give us 9/60ths. Over here, if I multiplied 15 times 4, I would get 60. 4 times 2 is 8. 9 is still bigger than 8. Next, I have -6/11ths and -5/9ths. If I cross multiply, I have -54. And then the other one would be -55. -54 is bigger than -55, so we would have -6/11ths is bigger than -5/9ths. Next, we have -2 fifths and -2 sevenths. Cross multiply, it gives us -14. The other one would give us -10. -14 is less than -10, so -2 fifths is less than -2 sevenths. Moving forward, the next one, 9 times 17. Actually, 4 times 28, or 4 times 7 is 28. And then 9 times 17 gives us 153. Now, if I rewrote this other one, this one is a -2 and 3/7. So if I wrote it that way, I would have still 28, and we would have 3 times 9 gives us 27. This side is still bigger. So 28 is bigger than 27. So we would have -2 and 4/9 is greater than -17/7. And then let me look at this one again. So this is actually negatives. So let me get rid of this here. -27 is bigger than -27, or -28. So it would be the other way around. So -2 and 4/9 is less than -17/7. Next, compare the following fractions using cross products. Now, -0.44 is not a fraction, it's a decimal. But if I put it as a fraction, this is really -11/40 or -11/25 compared to -2/7. Now, if I cross multiply, this would give us -77, and this side would give us -50. -50 is larger than -77, so we would have -2/7 is larger than -0.44. Here we want to order the following from least to greatest. So to do that, we need to have everything with common denominators. So if I put a common denominator of all 3 of them, 60 would be a common denominator. So if I put all of them in 60ths, so this would be times 3. So that's 9/60ths. Next one would be multiplied by 4/4, so it would be 8/60ths. Multiply the other one by 12/12ths, that's 12/60ths. So if I put it from smallest to largest, that would give us 2/15ths is the smallest, then 3/20ths, and the largest one would give us 1/5. Next, common denominator of 3, 8, and 5. So that would give us 3 times 8 times 5 would give us 120. So if I multiply this by 40 over 40, this would give us 120, so negative 80. 120 divided by 8 is 15. So 15 times negative 3 would give us a negative 45 1/20ths. And 120 divided by 5 would give us 24. And 24 times negative 4 is negative 96 over 120. So the least would be negative 4/5. Then would come negative 2/3. And the largest number would be negative 3/8. In our last couple, here we got mixed numbers involved. So 4 1/5 would be 4.2. So we got 4.2, 4 3/10 is 4.3, and then we got 4 and 1.15. So the smallest would be 4.15. Then it would be 4 1/5, and the largest would be 4 3/10. And our last one, I'm going to rewrite this last one. This would be 1, or a negative 1 and 5/6. So a common denominator of 3, 6, and 5. So we would have, so 30 would be the common denominator. So this would be negative 3 and 20/30ths. Next one would be negative 4 and 18/30ths. And the last one would be negative 1 and 25/30ths. Now, I don't have to put this in greatest common factors because I can look at the whole numbers or the integers in front. So the smallest number would actually be negative 4 and 3/5. Then it would be negative 3 and 2/3. And the biggest number would be negative 11/6. So that is our lesson on comparing and ordering rational numbers.